Hello everyone, and welcome to this edition of the Think Tank. I want to talk about the presidential debate, and the most important thing, especially the first topic that came up, was the economy. And I agree, the economy is essential. It is the most important thing in a society, the most important topic to discuss, because it affects basically everything in a society. People have jobs, if the economy is strong, people make money, they can buy things that they need, the very essentials of life, and of course their wants can be fulfilled. And that helps other people working in other industries that can offer these wants and needs. So it's essential. Crime goes down, it affects crime, it affects entitlements, people can afford things that they really need, like healthcare and shelter and housing, autos, to travel around. It affects everything when you have a strong economy. And of course, the individual needs, individual sustainability. People are less depressed when they're working. They have more self-respect. That's why when you go from recession to depression, it literally means people are depressed if they're not working. So quality of life increases. Neighborhoods become better. Schools get better. You need a strong economy. But if you were able to bet on what you were going to hear in this debate, a lot of money could have been made because it's very predictable. I mean, if you look at what they're both talking about, it's just typical Republican and Democrat. The Democrats talk about raising taxes on the rich and taking away deductions and all that, and that's going to help. And they don't talk about how they're going to cut the deficit. The deficit continues to go up, especially over the past 4 years. I mean, more money has been spent in the past 4 years than any time in history as far as the spending is concerned and the deficit is concerned. I mean, the country's deeply in debt. I mean, it's approaching already, I think, around $17 trillion. I mean, it's just unbelievable. It's just getting out of control. So, I mean, basically, and then, the Democrat hates the Republican. How are you going to cut taxes and at the same time reduce the deficit? So his claim is that, Romney said, hey, revenue. I mean, he talked about revenue going up based on a tax cut, because if you cut taxes, businesses are more prosperous, they'll make more money, and then as a result of them making more money, more taxes will be paid, and that will help to reduce the deficit and will generate more tax revenue. And that makes sense, but the question is, how do you do that? And what's important is you have to look at entitlements, and you have to look at the government spending, and that includes Social Security, it includes Medicare, it includes Medicaid, it includes all these Department of Education, all right, healthcare. These things need to be looked at, okay? And the government has to get out of healthcare. They have to get out of education. They have to, Social Security has to be transitioned to its dissolution. Social Security is broke. And I was just so surprised to hear. I mean, how the president said it's structurally sound. He mentioned that. I think he mentioned it 2 times and 3 times in his statement about Social Security. And I mean, how can he say that? Social Security is structurally sound. I mean, Social Security is broke. Social Security is basically, it's a welfare program, because the young people don't have a chance to see that money when they retire. How can they? I mean, the money that's coming is either from the young people, and they can't afford it anymore because many of them can't find jobs. So where's the tax revenue going to come from? So they're going to print, or they're going to borrow money from China to pay for it? How in the world can they call that Social Security? There's nothing secure about it. And it's not structurally sound. I know you can say that. And it's not just the president. I mean, look at Romney. He said, neither the president nor I are proposing any changes for any retirees or near retirees for Social Security or Medicare. So, I mean, obviously, they don't want to touch these entitlements. And the reason being is because they know if they say anything about it, it's very dangerous. This is a huge voting bloc. And if people are saying that they're going to touch these entitlements, which they have to do, there has to be substantial cuts, and there has to be a transition effect towards the dissolution of Social Security. That's what has to happen. And it definitely has to be means tested. I mean, you're talking about these alta cockers and these country clubs, in Palm Beach, living it up. I mean, they have a lot of money. They don't even need these checks. And who's subsidizing these people? I mean, young people that barely have their head above water, that are drowning in student debt. And if they can find a job, they have to pay into the system that's going to support these alta cockers. I mean, there's some old people that really need it, but there are people that don't. I mean, they didn't even want to talk about it. Not even means testing, nothing. They didn't even touch it. I mean, they both agreed that Social Security, I mean, the president says, oh yeah, it has to be tweaked. He mentioned that. I mean, no, it doesn't. It has to be ended. Social Security needs to be abolished. The people that are still on it have to transition. They can still get it. And where do you get it from? What about ending the wars? They didn't talk about that. That's a huge, with ending all these wars that they have, bringing the troops home, that would save a lot of money. Maybe use some of that money to take care of the poor and the sick, right? The people that need this program, but they certainly should not call it Social Security anymore. It's a welfare program. That's what it is. Social Security means young people will see it when they retire, but they won't. I don't see how it's possible, and especially their projections on the economy. The economy is not going to get better. They're predicting, oh yeah, well, when the economy recovers, well, when it does, how can it? Under the atmosphere that we have right now. And then he talks about, the president talked about the housing industry and the automotive industry roaring back. I mean, no, it's not. The only reason the housing market came back is because the artificially low interest rates. And as a result of that, you have all this QE going on, more printing of money, and it's causing a lot of inflation. It's just going to inject money into the housing market, but temporarily. Once it wears off, the housing market is going to be in the doldrums again, but much worse, because the proportion of the stimulus, all right, is going to be equivalent and more equivalent to the next collapse that it has, because it's being propped up again, and more jobs are being created within this phony bubble. And then the bigger they are, the harder they fall. It falls even harder. So no, it's not roaring back, because it's the reason it's just coming back temporarily is because of artificially low interest rates. And then the president, of course, he uses Bill Clinton. The economy was not strong because of Clinton. He happened to be president during a huge stock market bubble. I mean, the biggest since the Great Depression. And you're talking about people investing in tech stocks and all this capital going in. And this huge industry was created off a bubble, and he happened to be president during that time. That's why jobs were created. That's why you had all this prosperity. What Romney should have brought up. He said, look, you're using Bill Clinton. Yeah, he was the beneficiary of a stock market bubble. And what caused the stock market bubble is similar to what caused the housing bubble. It was artificially low interest rates by the Fed. Because when you have artificially low interest rates, you see artificially low interest rates during 1998, 1999, it helped increase startup capital. See, it's just like the housing market. There was capital available to invest in these stocks. And then it turned into such a bubble because many of these companies didn't even have any earnings. So it's just like housing, right? People were buying houses, they couldn't afford to pay the mortgage. So it had to fail. I mean, it was inevitable. And then what happened is when the Federal Reserve raised interest rates, they raised interest rates 6 times in 1999 and 2000, and then the bubble burst. You see, that's what happened. So, that's what Romney should have answered him. But, a lot of them, a lot of what they spoke about, there was agreement on. And you know what it is? They had to do what's politically right to do. Because if you look in the Republican debate, a while back, I remember this candidate, Rick Perry. I mean, he called Social Security a Ponzi scheme. I mean, and he mentioned the word Keynesian. If you talk about stuff like this, it's very bad for you politically. I think at the time he was leading in the polls amongst the Republican candidates for the nomination, and his poll numbers dropped like a rock after he said that. I mean, things did not go well for him after that. Why? Because he told the truth. No, he was talking about things that are insolvent. But what happens is, this is what a democracy does. When people want these things, even though they themselves know it's insolvent and it can't last, they're not going to vote for you if you're going to take it away from them. And this is what they both did. And you see, what also bothers me here is the fact that, it's been a long time. It's been over 10 years, I think, since we had a viable third-party candidate. I think Ross Perot was a substantially, he was a viable candidate. He got a lot of votes. I mean, it's been so long, and a lot of everybody agrees that we need real change, and that may come from a third party. Why don't we have a third party? Why couldn't there be a third party candidate? I mean, come on already. All these networks, I think this was PBS that did this. I don't know. I mean, you can't let a third party guy come in there so we can hear his views, hear what has to be done. I mean, a lot of people must have watched this debate. I mean, where's the third party? So we can hear about something substantial, like, try to transition towards the end of Social Security, get the government out of education, get the government out of healthcare. Healthcare would be much better if it was in the private sector. Get the government out of education. People can have the choice where they want to send their kids. I mean, when you have the government, the one-size-fits-all model, I mean, people are different, not just within a state, within a community, within a municipality. I mean, you can't have the one-size-fits-all for everything. And this is what has to happen. But, hey, it just seems, twiddly-dum and twiddly-dee. And if you look at both candidates, there's very little difference between the two. I mean, if you want to say that one is more fiscally responsible, is more pro-free market, or has more business experience, Romney is maybe more than the other candidate. Romney is more than the president. But but it's not going to make a difference, because what really needs is serious change, because the country is broke, seriously in debt. I mean, trillions are owed to other countries, and what these two candidates are proposing, what these two men are proposing, are not going to change anything. So what's needed is the malinvestment. The malinvestment needs to be liquidated. A lot of these government departments need to be closed. Social Security has to be transitioned towards its end. Young people have to be able to opt out. Government has to get out of education. They have to get out of healthcare. They have to put it back in the private sector. And this is how the economy is going to come back. And then the regulations. A lot of regulations need to be repealed. And we have to bring the troops home. That would save a lot of money. From all these crazy wars. The drug war has to come to an end. That's another thing that's costing a lot of people money. It's putting people. It's criminalizing people. That it's affecting their lives. All these things are causing doldrums in the economy. Now, as far as the average American watching this, I mean, for a lot of Americans, many of them, this is just another reality show. And who do you think looks prettier? I mean, to them, it's just a beauty contest. There's a lot of other goofy reality shows, and this is just another reality show for them. Who looks better, right? And who wins the beauty contest today? Romney wins it. All right? I'm going to put myself in the mind frame of a lot of goofy Americans sitting on their couches, and they don't care or understand any of the issues that were spoken about. And what they're going to look at here is basically who looks better. So who looks better? Romney. Yeah, he has the nice hair, he has the nice suit, looks very presidential. He has a smooth, kind of monotone type of voice that's relaxing to listen to. And he kind of resembles actor James Garner. He's, he has that 1930s, 1940s actor voice, the deeper, monotonish voice. So yeah, he wins the beauty contest. I mean, he made the other guy. He looks a lot better than the other guy does. He sounds a lot better than the other guy does. So you know what? He actually won this debate. And that's really what the election is about for many Americans. They're just looking at these two guys and they see, hey, who's prettier? Was it Romney or Obama? So, Romney, he looked and sounded better. He performed better in the debate. I mean, he absolutely, it's a landslide. When those two guys got up there, and I saw both of them, the way they were debating, if I was someone that did not understand anything about what they were talking about or cared, if I just looked at these two guys, just like American Idol, right? If I looked at them, yeah, hey, you pick Romney. Romney won in a landslide, absolutely. I mean, he just, he won in a landslide. And unfortunately, these are the times that we live in. I mean, to many Americans, this is just a reality show. That's really what it's about. And like I said, the extreme disappointment I had, and this is really getting, it's very aggravating, that they can't at least have a third party, another person there. And even if he wouldn't be asked the most questions, like you've seen in the Republican debate, they had a lot of other candidates. Some didn't get asked as much as the others, but at least someone can be there to talk about some views and talk about the issues. So, this is very important. I mean, what do you think? How do you think the candidates performed? What do you think needs to be done? And do you agree that there should have been a third-party candidate there to at least express the issues? Maybe a libertarian candidate to talk about, the spending and the debt and government involvement in the economy. About, maybe closing departments, moving towards the dissolution of Social Security. Get the government out of health care. Get the government out of education. How do you feel about that? Please leave your comments. Please like up this video. Please subscribe, and thank you for tuning in.